Welcome, guys, to Metalladium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Sacrifice, this new album, Volume 6, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we started by asking, so how are you doing the band the last couple years? And now, how is the band during, before the release of this new album?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your podcast tonight. I appreciate your time and thank you for having me. It's been an excellent couple of years to say the least. We're 2025 now. I recorded the album September of 23, so it's been a little bit of a wait, and obviously for myself, and it's taken a little bit of some time for us to complete Volume 6. But I mean, as with anything great, anything uh, that takes good quality and something to come together very well. We've taken our time, and I think we put together a great album and a good package.
Mm, amazing, amazing. So I'm talking about especially for this volume six. When do you start writing songs for this new album? It was at the time when you're doing this more than yes, more than will be in 4 years will be 20 years from your last album, the ones I command. So perhaps you really started songs writing songs when you left the band in 2009 or perhaps 2 years ago. So when do you start writing songs for this new one?
Uh, Everything started to come probably a little bit more clear, probably around 2015, 2016, 2017. We started piecing together some good songs, probably around that. Comatose, we had that. Underneath Millennia, we had that. We had Missile Written. So those three songs kind of started to propel us forward, probably around 2017. So it's taken probably a good seven years to finish it and to complete the other, I guess, the other nine songs. Uh, the pandemic, it basically gave everybody a hard time in 2020. We kind of lost maybe a couple of years of playing, and I know we didn't play for like a full year between 2020 and 2021. Everything was pretty much shut down, and you couldn't pretty much do anything. They just held the world at in a gridlock. I felt like it felt like for us. And then I mean, we started probably playing a little bit more in 21 and 22. We started being a little bit more active, playing more shows. Uh, and the songs started coming a little bit more over that last couple of years, probably 2021 into 2023. We pretty much had probably about two-thirds of the record done by then. And we had more plans, but as 23 came in, we finished the record, not completely. At that time, we thought maybe it was just going to be an EP. As the summer came into 2023, we managed to complete a couple more songs, and we had a couple more on the back burner. So for us, we were feeling much better about maybe an album as opposed to an EP. At that point, we were probably just going to maybe do a six-song EP, and it bloomed from six songs to probably about eight, nine songs potentially, and then we finished two off. Basically, the weekend we recorded it, which was not planned, but it just happened to work out that way. So we were pleasantly surprised that it came out that way, and yeah, it's considering all that time that's passed, we were pretty happy that we managed to get at least 11 songs recorded for this record.
Mm, amazing, amazing. So now I think
Have
the
you
next
heard?
question.
I'm just curious to know. Have you heard the whole thing yourself, or just the singles?
No, I just hear we have the whole album here, and so I just hear all album to do this interview because that's important to hear
Fantastic.
from.
Yeah, some guys have heard the whole thing. Some guys have only heard the couple singles and stuff. But I mean, it's making its rounds in regards to the guys that have had have been doing press about us and stuff like that. So it's been nice. Yeah, I like the guys that have heard the whole thing. That way, as I'm talking about the songs, they pretty much know what I'm talking about. So that's
Mm,
pleasant. Yeah, I'm glad that you've heard the whole thing.
yep, that's what mine came from the 80s, so I prefer to hear albums, not just singles. I don't like
Yeah,
the idea to hear just singles since I was in
yeah,
this world
I agree.
of the
I
metal
agree.
world.
I want to hear the whole thing. I want to hear what makes everybody go for sure.
Yep, yep, yep. So. Now, well, I think the next question it is a common one because this new album, Volume 6, has a bigger difference, a huge difference with the previous album, the ones I come then, one great album by the way, I hear at that moment when I hear that album. So, but I think the next question is a common one. So why the band delayed like delayed like more than 20 years to release an album?
Well, I mean, it's 16 years. Yeah, I mean, it's almost 20 years.
Mm,
Uh, 7 years, I'd say. Yeah, we went through a bit of a writing glut where we didn't write anything. We played a lot of shows between '09 and
mm,
I'd say '16, '17. That was a good stretch of maybe 8 years. We
mm,
had maybe just two or three songs written by that point. So the focus on doing an album by the time 2016, 2015 came around wasn't in the cards. I was just happy that we had new songs written. Whether they were going to ever see the light of day, I had no idea. Uh, I was hoping for basically an EP, but we kept writing. We kept coming up with a few more songs here and there, and then it looked more like an EP. But yeah, getting into probably the end of 2018, 2019, and like I don't know where like I said, the pandemic hits, and then it just flushed everything. Yeah, for whatever reason, I'd say if the pandemic never came in 2020,
mm,
I'd say because I mean we did the single for World War V, and next thing you know, we could have easily have maybe have gone in and recorded if the pandemic never happened. So I would have said maybe the EP would have been maybe 5 years sooner than what you probably hear now.
mm.
Uh, in hindsight, is it better that maybe we waited? I think so because I think those songs got a lot tighter. Because I mean, we're not renowned for that, anyways. Playing some pretty tight thrash and stuff like that. And I found the longer we played those songs, the better we had gotten. The better they had become more of a complete entity, especially underneath Millennia. That song I'd say has probably been a good 10 years in the making, and by the time we finished it in 20 and recorded in 2023, that was a long time for that song to come to fruition. So I was overall I think I'm pretty happy. But yeah, I mean the spacing between that, I mean all of us still have jobs, we all still make a living, and I think over the last probably 15 years we spent a lot of time playing shows and concentrating on playing 2 3 times a year, because it's still a part-time job for all of us, to say the least. It's never become a full-time job for us out of the gate. So
Mm, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You either make it a full-time job or you don't, right?
Yeah, yeah, that is right. That is right. Well, another thing about this from this new album, talking about this new, how do you compare the process of the compositions from this new album, compare the previous ones that released before the pandemic, when you returned to 2006, and obviously in the 90s? Do you think that you grow up as a music composer for this new album?
I say that we have for sure. I think we're a little bit more patient on the songs we write. Not that we're not any less aggressive. I mean, Rob stated it, and I've stated it as well. This is probably the most aggressive album we've written since maybe For Determination, in my opinion. A little bit more thrashy than Condemned. I think it's definitely. Is it as fast as Soldiers? Probably not, in my opinion, but then again, it's still a pretty aggressive album, and quite a few songs. I'm just happy that it's more of a thrash album overall. 80% of it is pretty much thrash. The rest of it is, us being spreading our wings, doing what we want, i.e. the instrumentals and stuff like Black Hashish and Lunar Eclipse. But I mean, even underneath Millennia, we take a little step back on the thrash, but we could still deliver a good heavy song, and still step outside the thrash box for us. But I mean, still with a lot of songs on the album, we still check off a lot of boxes on the thrash end of it. So for me, I think it's in the vast part of our catalog. Yeah, it's definitely up there, probably in the top three of pieces of work we've done for sure.
Amazing, amazing. And other detail that always captured my attention from Sacrifice is since the beginning. No? Since the beginning, so you create Torment in Fire, you create Forward to Termination, oh, just No Soldier's Misfortune, and also all cover arts, just two albums from you doesn't have the special theme, but the other albums always try to reflect something, like demons, like death, afterlife, and I think you are one of the few bands into the thrash metal that are very curious with the cover art. Because usually the cover arts from Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, there's not a complex cover art in that bands. But usually, I remember very well from the cover art Forward of Termination. One of them, I really like that cover. A lot of color, very different. So, but now with this volume 6, also you try to present like a demon, like an end of the battle. So, and for this one, so how do you try to relate always the music songs sacrifice that is a strict music? Because I always said that in thrash metal is like a street music. It's more savage, more I don't know these kind of topics. So, and how do you relate the concept of the art of this volume 6 with the music that you try to that when you play with a sacrifice song?
Yeah. Well, the art itself, I mean, for me and Rob, it's, I mean, do we actually think about that concept when we wrote this album? I wouldn't say that we did. We were more focused on the songs themselves and getting something that four or five, six songs that would reflect, where we were going with this record. I think by that point, we were pretty happy with what we had created, and it was easier to give the album to Todd Kowalski, who's the one who drew the album cover itself. And I guess from him sitting back and listening to the album and hearing what Rob had to sing about this record over the full duration of this record. That's I mean that's I think for him that's what he pulled out of these songs and the lyrics that he had written. Right. Uh, I kind of like it because it kind of stood out more so than most of the record covers we've done in the past. But I mean, each one has been pretty poignant, in regards to, once you see that cover, you instantly recognize that it's us.
Mm.
And I think that's probably the best, same thing that goes for V6. That I think that cover's pretty striking when you look at it from a long way, and what he had created for this album, what was he was seeing visualized in his head. When I seen it for the first time, I was pleasantly surprised, shocked, as anybody that has probably seen it for the first time. But it's quite striking, and you kind of look at it more than once, and you try and gravitate to as to what it might mean and how it relates to the record. But yeah, I think they go hand in hand in regards to how dark they are and how and at least the subject matter that we put on this record and the stuff we've written and played about on this one for sure.
Okay, okay. All the tale always since the beginning, it is that the sacrifice always changed the labels. You was in the first time you was with Diabolic Force, then with Metal Blade, then it was with Marquis Records, and now you are with Hilo Roll Records. So and for this one, as you can see, you always sacrifice to try to reach a label to release the record. But now there's a new tendency in the world that a lot of new bands are trying to release their productions without any label, just by themselves. So,
Yes.
what is your opinion about this new movement in the music industry, especially in the metal music, that all people are trying to listen by themselves? How important to you is to have a label behind you?
I still, in my opinion, I still think it's important, but I mean, being the industry that it is, and it's so, it's so hard to make a buck, so hard to get. You still have to get recognized. You still have to be recognized in the scene. You still have to put out. You still want a label to put your product out, and you still want to be able to, somewhat control basically what you do, as opposed to a record label saying you've got to do this, you've got to do that. I mean, for us, it's still a part-time job for us, and that's never lost on us. It has to be known to the record label because we only play so many times a year, uh, and And like I said, it's still a part-time job. Uh, will that change? Will V6 change that for us? Who knows? It's not really up to us. I think it's up to the metal community as to how big we get, and if it can maybe state the fact that maybe we should play more shows a year. Is that up to us? Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe so. Who knows? It's the record labels today. I guess if you get signed to the major labels, the pressure and the angst to make sure that you tour and they push your product and push the albums that you're trying to sell, and then how much of that do you give up to those labels? How much of your soul do you sign away for 2, 3, 4 years, right? 5 years. Some guys want to do that. Some guys have the ability to do that. Some of us, would rather do stuff ourselves. I find that I think we could still control our own destinies and not be handcuffed by rules, regulations, and having to do things that for us it's got to work for us as opposed to work for the label. I think we've been pretty poignant about that from even when we did Condemned, like over the last 15 years, 16 years, since me and Rob, when we all reunited in '06, there was never any pressure on us to have to tour. Uh, the albums came because we wanted them to come, not because somebody told us to do it, right?
Yep, that is right. That is right. And usually when you are releasing a new album now during these last 2 years or 3 years, as you can see, there are a lot of websites, media, a lot of people working or like a fan working, doing reviews, interviews, more things like us. So in this situation, so and there's a lot of reviews coming out from the new album, more opinions with the social medias, etc., etc. So in this case, how it was the response for this new volume 6 in general, the internet, for the fans, in the comments, and how do you take the reviews, bad or good?
Yeah, I found because I guess because the release was more so in Europe than it was in North America. I got a better feel as to what everybody was thinking about the album outside of North America. It was nice. I think overall we're super pleased about how well the album resonated with everybody. Not everybody's going to like it. Some people think that maybe it's mid sub, but I think the vast majority of the guys that have reviewed the album have really liked the album. Have loved the new flavor of thrash that we've came up with. They think we're a little bit more piss and vinegar on this album than Condemned. They say, I mean, I think the production is fantastic. I think the songwriting is just as. I think it's more so aggressive than Condemned, and I've been way happier with the response from everybody about this record than I was a little bit more scared about Condemned. I was, I was more worried about my own playing than the album itself. The songs were good anyways, and uh, I just wanted to make sure I put my best foot forward on that album. So uh, I'd say in 2008, 2007, I was still feeling a lot of doubt about my own playing, but not so much so over the last 15 years. I'd say we're more like ourselves from the 80s, the 90s about how we feel about the music and the way we've been playing it. I think we've been playing probably these songs the best over maybe the last 5, 10 years than ever before. I think that's probably and I think it reflected on this record how well we played it. Is how well we've been playing our old stuff currently and over the last probably 20 years, I'd say for sure.
No? Okay. Amazing. So now talking about a little more about the promotion for this new volume 6. So what kind of plans do you have for this new album? I saw that you will play some gigs there. Perhaps you will embark more tours. You will came in a full tour for Latin America, Asia. Asia's more like is more closer than in the 80s or 90s. So now, so what kind of plans do you have for this new volume 6 for the band? Or perhaps you're already working a new album because you provide me the information that you have been working with this album for 4 years ago.
Yeah, this year is I know it's very specific about playing a local show in Toronto. I know the noise to play locally here has been extremely loud because we haven't played here since 16. So that's almost 10 years. And never has the screaming been louder about us playing locally. Uh, Going back to Vancouver in May, that's been planned and already scheduled for next year. What happens after that, I'm not quite sure yet. Hopefully, we'll do something that's go. We love to go with places we haven't played yet. So uh, South America is always calling us constantly. So hopefully we maybe get some call about that and maybe do something there. Uh, Maybe Europe. I don't know. We'll see. Nothing's been ironed out just yet. I know we're still trying to work out a local show yet, so nothing's been finalized. So hopefully we get these things nailed down. So far, all I can tell you is we got one show planned, and then we'll see we'll see what happens. But for me right now, it's I just want to put this record out. I want to get it out. I want to get it in everybody's laps so that everybody can hear it. Nobody in North America, all in North America, there's maybe a handful of guys that have maybe the high roller releases already, and they love it. They've been super stoked about what we've done. Now it's a matter of getting it out there, getting it into people's hands, start streaming it, and that's weeks away in regards to like getting it for everybody for mass consumption, and then we'll see what it does. I think once it starts streaming, I think it's gonna open some eyes, in my opinion, and increase our, as you say, I don't know, have more people look at us, more people start to talk about us, which will be nice. I think it's going to garner quite a bit of buzz once it starts to hit the streamers and everybody. I think everybody's going to want it and be demanding for us to play. So that's what I'm hoping, anyways.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Now talking about especially one thing that always I want to ask some of the band here, or or members from Sacrifice, because you start the band in 1983, then you decide to leave the band or the split up in 1993, but then you decide to come back in 2006. So, and for this, what are the reasons at that moment when you decide to split up the band in 1993, not 1993, and then you decide to come back in 2006, and also you released and your first album 3 years later, in 2009.
Yeah. Well, for me, I left in 1990. So I came in 85, left in 90. Uh, Making money back in the 80s playing this music was extremely difficult. Um, yeah, I was always told it didn't get much better after I left, and they dissolved the band in '93 without me. And then I spent, I guess, 12 years without even once thinking about playing music. I completely gave up playing drums between 90 and I guess 2001, almost 12 years. And then I started playing again in '01, '02, and then I met a couple friends that kind of turned me on to metal again and filled my ears with a lot of stuff I wasn't aware of that had transpired through the years, and I became to start to love certain things about metal again that fueled me back when I first started hearing bands like Slayer and Exodus, like
Mm.
all these things. Yeah, fueled me again. So by the time I got to 2003, 2004, me and Rob became good friends again, started playing, started jamming. And one thing led to another. We did the reunion. And then after the reunion, he just he's always stated, he's always writing all the time, always creating songs. The ones that stick are that's I guess that's the key, right? He sends me a whole bunch of demoed stuff. What can I tell you? I fell in love with quite a bit of stuff off of Condemned. He had most of it written. By the time we'd written that album between, I guess, '07 and '08. So over those 2 years, we go at the end of '08, record it, and then put it out in '09. And Condemned is now is history and locked into the history books. Just like with Volume 6, that 7 year period. You go from '09 until 2015, 2016. That's another 7 year period where we don't do anything. We don't write any new songs, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we start finding new inspiration, new things that stick to the start to hit you here, right? And you find the stuff that keeps you fueled, I guess, and going forward. So, I guess it's with us, it's quality over quantity, as they say. I guess over the 20 years, we could have probably written 10 albums. Would they have been any better than Condemned or Volume Six? I couldn't tell you. But then again, that always comes down to the amount of times you play. We all don't live in the same city together, so it's really changed how we've begun to write and the amount of times we play. Like when we play as a band, we play maybe 2, 3 times a year as a complete unit. When me and Rob jam, that's just the two of us. So it the dynamic changes, yeah, when we all get in the same room together, and it's that was like that when we were kids, but now it's kind of changed, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, okay. Well, another topics about now, especially from the thrash metal. I remember that I spoke like 2 years ago, 3 years ago with Tom, Angel Reaper from Sodom. And he told me that the trash is a product of their time. So of their time. So we are talking about the 80s at that moment. So all because in the 80s was this kind of these economic problems, social problems, politic problems. A lot of things came out for the 70s or 60s for and the 80s suffered that consequence at that moment. Then now, according to him, there is no thrash metal that can carry this torch because right now, just the old bands has to, especially they know specific what is the intention of the thrash metal, like this vibe of the 80s, 70s, suffer society, etc., etc. And now there are more bands that try and play to thrash metal with a different with you influence different influence in the world. So and for the do you think that the thrash metal is a product of their time, or could we say that the thrash metal continue evolve in new sounds?
Uh, I don't think it's changed much. I think I mean, I think the dynamic of how it sounds has changed. The quality of it hasn't changed much. I think this year is probably the most thrash metal I've seen put out in quite a long time. Like a lot of bands are putting up brand new albums, and thrash has probably been more represented this year than ever before. And that I've seen probably since I've come back and started playing it again. Has it changed much since the 80s? I don't think so. I don't think much at all. I think it's probably we're still the same genre. We're still writing about stuff that pisses us off, and I overall I think it's just the way it sounds has changed. It sounds more modern. A lot of stuff. There's not much to when it comes to the actual sound of it, I think it still sounds like thrash. Every band that puts it out, Exodus still sounds like Exodus. Slayer still sounds like Slayer. Destruction still sounds like Destruction. You know what I'm saying? Everybody sounds like themselves. Has it changed much? I don't think so. I think it's gonna keep going forward and still maintaining that sound of thrash. I don't think we're going to change much. But I mean, guys like us, I mean, shit, man, I'm getting close to 60. This might be my last record, so who knows? We might be setting the stage for like the young guys, like Warbringer and stuff. And for us, like locally, like bands like Corrosive and stuff, they're the new generation that are keeping the genre alive and keeping it vibrant. So we just want to pass on the torch and keep it going, I guess.
Okay, okay, yes, interesting point of view. This and you said once something, and we are close to this interview, but Gus. And one thing that you said that is very important because I always when I talk with my friends, when people from the for my era, 80s and 90s, when I hear that started with hear metal music at that moment, I always said that the thrash metal stagnated with the great bands. So with the Gram Slayer, Metallica, Euro Sacrifice, Annihilator, and the great bands and the middle band that. But then, as you can see, there is a lot of bands trying to play like the old bands, like with the same look, with the same, I don't know, with the same guitars, etc., etc. There's overpopulated bands into the music. So for you, do you think that the thrash metal will evolve in new things? Or do you think that this thrash metal right now, you said it, right now the thrash metal is stagnated. No more new bands that reflect a new sound into the thrash metal. I think the last one it was Lamb of God at that moment in beginning 2000s. But then there's no more bands that trying to play in thrash metal with a different sound like created by you, Sodom, Creator, and other bands.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like, will it keep going forward? I say if the quality of this year's bands and the quality of music that's coming out, I mean, I'm hoping to inspire a new generation of kids that want to play it, want to keep moving the genre forward. Uh, do I see metal being stagnant? Nah, it's always moving forward. It's always been growing. Um, Will it ever stop? I don't think so. I don't think metal's ever been stronger. I think it's still going forward. It's still being vibrant. I mean, I know that from festivals like traveling to Belgium this year and seeing the amount of people that attended that festival was just you know inspiring, to be quite honest. Like, you see that many bands all playing in the same spot, all representing old and new. So I think it's still moving forward. I think it's going to continue to move forward. We're going to continue to inspire new generations of metalheads, whether you be in death metal, black metal, doesn't matter. I think it's still going to move forward and still be vibrant. Uh, I mean, if it wasn't, I wouldn't be doing it. I would have hung up my shit like I did in 1990. But I find that it's never been better, never been bigger, especially with the shows we planned this year and the places we got a chance to play. So I think it's still big. I still think it's gonna continue to move forward and be vibrant. New generations are gonna come. And as long as it's moving forward and the kids are enjoying it and everybody's still writing music and playing, I think it's still going to be vibrant.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, and the last question for this interview, as you can see nowadays, well, there is a lot of mixtures. There is a lot of mix into with the metal, with thrash metal, death metal, black metal, heavy metal, and some people. I spoke a few weeks ago with Chris Brodendal from Great Digger, and I asked him about this. So, what do you think about now the movement of the death metal, black metal, thrash metal? And for him, this kind of music is pop because not reflect the sound of the 70s, according to him. Because the
Yeah.
sound of the 70s is for him is Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, Saxon. For him that is metal. And a lot of a lot of people think that the great era of the death metal is 70s and 80s, and other people think the last evolution from the death metal, sorry, for the metal is the death metal in the 90s. But then from beyond of the death metal born in 90s, there's no more evolution for other people. Other people say that is the gen, new mixtures, but in general, for you, do you think that the metal evolved in new sounds since the last sounds that we know, like as Meshuggah created in 2022 with a degen style? Because this style came from a thrash or death metal diffusion, so that degen will consider still metal, but others right now there are a lot of mixtures that for a lot of people that is not metal.
Oh, I don't know. I think bands like Meshuggah and keep taking it to a new level, like the songwriting. Um, I'm still playing it, so I'm still loving it. I mean, if these guys keep putting shows on and keep putting festivals on, I mean, still have Bloodstock every year, still have Whacking. So you can't say that the metal is, not my opinion, diminished. I think it's still pushing forward. Is it gonna continue to evolve? I say it will. I mean, is there maybe too many bands and too many bands all sounding the same? Yeah, it's maybe there's a little bit of that, but I mean, we're all still trying to find our own sounds and find our own evolutions. But Yeah, I can't see that it'll stop. I mean, if it was going to stop, it would have stopped 20 years ago, 40 years ago, after all what you consider or what's maybe been written as the greatest eras. But I don't know. Here I am in 2025, still playing it, still wrote a new album, still pushing thrash forward. There's tons of thrash being produced this year. So uh, give me 2 years. I like to answer that question again to see what I'm going to see over the next 2 years, and I'll be able to better answer that question in 2 years' time to tell you that yeah, whether it's getting stale or if it's getting it's becoming more robust. But I still think it is.
Okay, okay. Well, Gus, we arrived to the sad moment of this interview. Thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure to have this interview with you. This volume 6 is a great one, as usually from Sacrifice, very direct to the vein, as thrash metal as always. So, congratulations on these records, and perhaps do you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallican followers?
Yes, thank you very much for having me on your show today. I'm looking forward to putting this record out for you guys to listen to and hopefully play a lot more shows for us. We'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously the metal fans of the world are going to dictate how busy we get. So I'm hoping if you guys buy this en masse, we'll have a show for you. Hopefully in the well, I mean, I want to play Latin America. I want to play Mexico and Central America and South America again, and uh, and play for more fans for sure. So I'm looking forward to that this year.
Great.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.